Things have changed, but what does not seem to have changed is the narrative of some people. They're still stuck with whatever happened 30, 40 years ago. Maybe I can talk about a non-issue, static depth. I have no idea who said that, but it's a sound concept. Afghanistan does provide Pakistan a strategic depth, depending upon what the threat is. A bigger strategic depth was provided by Pakistan to the Afghans because they used to come here whenever they were attacked from outsiders. They not only got asylum here or a place to live, but also to do business. Also, it was a window for the outside world. So I am going to leave that strategic depth away for the time being. But in the question answer session, I'm quite willing to answer in details what these concepts actually mean. But the more important thing is what was our policy when Afghanistan was under foreign occupation? That has not changed. That was the real strategy. If Afghanistan is under the Soviet occupation or American occupation, Pakistan, as a policy, would support any resistance, whether they are called Mujahideen or the Taliban, regardless. And the reason was very simple. If there are foreign forces there, some of the Afghans, in fact, basically the tribesmen, would always fight back. This is their history, this is what they have done, and the debris would fall on Pakistan. So that was the first pillar of our policy. Support the resistance because they had a good chance of getting rid of the foreign occupants. If one is to come to the present position, I have no problems conceding. I did that in many of your Iraq security dialogues, latest by in Madrid, that I think what did change was the policy that was the invention of one man in Pakistan. And that is what happens very often. The army chief here takes over, and after that, if he remains an unchallenged force, he imposes his policy. It's a one man policy to chase away or ask the Afghans to leave, which was a big disaster. And it was not challenged because that has also been our experience. And that started the rot. It was such a disastrous policy, asking the Afghan refugees to leave. There's a humanitarian angle that all of you well understand. For people like me, it was the effect on the bilateral relation and the regional concern. That meant that we were now creating problems of friction with a neighbor with whom we've had a good relationship in the past. Always. A little bit of friction here and there, that is always there amongst neighbors. But Afghanistan was the one that used to defend our western borders when we went to war against India. Now, this is all history, and if it changed, I am here, I have no qualms admitting that this was a bad policy, asking them to leave, creating a problem with the Afghans, asking them to do something which, of course, all of you know, Afghan hands, that Afghans were not going to do it. No one could do it, but especially the Afghans could not. There was no, there was no doubt in my mind that they were not going to get hold of the TDP, round them up, put them in a cage, and hand them over. TDP was helpful to them. So the tradition of the Afghans is that if someone has been helpful to you, you never betray them. If someone has asked for or taken refuge in your country, you do not betray that. Osama bin Laden was one major example, but in case of the TDP, as I said, there was a particular role that they played. And the Afghans, the Taliban regime after 2003, when it became again, the in charge of or the master of the country, they told us very clearly, we can't do it. There is no physical possibility that we can round them up and send them back. But you are a big country, and they continue to say that. And you're a big country. Once these people, they are your own citizens, when they go there, with your army and your intelligence, your capability should take care of them. Precisely the argument that we used to give to the Americans when they said, please do something about the Taliban who have taken refuge in your country. And our government was, we have no problem with them. We are not going to create any other front. We have enough problems of our own. But if they are there, we, with your NATO forces and with all the capabilities, it's your job to take care. Precisely that's argument plus one. And that is already said. No, you don't betray people who will help. So this was the dilemma that had existed for a couple of years. The bigger disaster stuck when we violated the Afghan sovereignty for another time, sent the aircraft, bombarded some places, or sent some drones. I do not know what I did, but we sent some drones. Anyone in one's right senses would have known that if you do that, the Taliban or the Afghans or the Mujahideen or any government there would hit back. We also hit back when the Indians did that a couple of months ago when they came and bombed the places and the madrasas in Bahawalpur. We were going to hit back. This is the compulsion of a state. And this is what they have done. They had to hit back. And the worst part was that, the old argument that I used to have long time ago, and that is to my great chagrin, to my discomfiture, it's just come back to haunt me. And that is that we have to take care of the Afghans, regardless of who rules that, because they not only defended our borders when we were at war with India, but if they get occupied by forces which are inimical to the Afghans, to the Taliban, to the Afghans, the tribesmen, to the Afghans generally, then we would be confronted with a two front situation. India in the east, not a very friendly country, and now it was when the Soviets invaded an Indian friendly superpower. So that created that environment in which we said, well, now that we have fallen the jaws of a nutcracker, we should do something to break out of it. And that also led to one additional factor that we supported the Mujahideen. Now, because of this very flawed policy, and I cannot say that often enough, in this situation in which we have inevitably, which was going to lead to a two-front situation. India is very happy. They've already admitted. Their former army chief, VP Malik, very clearly said, I mean, such honest people are very difficult to find. Pakistan provided us the opportunity, and so we are going to cozy up to the Taliban. We are going to accept that to create further discomfiture for them. So that is where we stand right now.
So you're saying,
This present situation has nothing to do with strategy. It has to do with the one-man policy that was incidentally opposed by the institution. That much I know.